I'm Perien, known as Kubeta woman. Welcome to my series on do-it-yourself woodworking projects for everyone. In this series, I show you how to make simple woodworking projects for your home that you can try for yourself. Every week, I will tackle a project that is both beautiful and functional and that you can do in your own time at home. Are you ready? Let's get started. Today we're going to do a mid-century modern plant stand. Many of you have been to these very fancy department stores at Grove Mall and Verneuil, and you've seen these plant stands around, and they cost an exorbitant amount of money. Today we're going to show you how to do that very simply with just the simple things that you can buy from the hardware store. To start with, we're going to look at what you would need. 4 dowels, very large. You would need wood glue. We're going to need 4 of these dowels. We're not going to use screws in this particular project. We're going to need a clamp to clamp down the wood dowels for sawing. Also, we would need 2 short pieces of wood, which we're going to have to cut into so they can sit on top of each other and hold the plant. We need, of course, a measuring tape because we need to measure the diameter of our pot that we will use, as well as how far the pot will stand from the floor. We'll need a saw, some tape to use to measure where the holes are going to go, some sanding paper to finish it nicely off, a drill, and if you don't want to use a handsaw, one of these bad boys, your circular saw, will do the job very quick and easy. Alright, so let's get going. To start off, we need to measure. I've got my 4 dowels here, they're all equally spaced. What I'm going to do is take a square and just make sure that they are all lined up. Next thing is, let's just put a little clamp on that and just make sure they're all together. We take a piece of tape and we're going to tape our 4 dowels together so we can have them equally spaced. Alright, next we're going to measure the actual dowel. Let me just remove the clamp. Actual dowel, the one I bought here says it's 90 centimeters. So that means half of this is 45. So we're going to take down and we're going to measure, take that down. We're going to measure our 45 on just 1 dowel. Take our square clamp and we're going to make the assumption that this is square and we're going to do 45 across. So this is going to be where we're going to cut our dowels in half, which means we can actually get 2 planters from this. So let's get cutting. After cutting our pieces, and what I want to do is try and find out where these are going to sit on my particular pot. I'm thinking because it's 45 and the pot needs to sit that way, maybe 10 centimeters would be a good judgment. So I'll take my measuring tape. We're going to focus on, say, 10. Take it from there, maybe 10 there. This means that the attachment needs to be below the 10. Alright, so we're going to do 10 for everyone in this case. Okay, just take it, mark it down, and we're doing 10. Oops. 10. Alright, take your sanding paper. because what normally happens is that your cuts get all these splinters, and you just fold your sanding paper in 3. Right? Take your sanding paper and just sand and round the edges so that you don't get to hurt yourself in the process. Continuing with measurements. Oh, measurements, what can I say? We take a piece of tape. You're going to take the end of your 2 pieces that you equally cut, and you want to see where your particular dowel points are going to go into. And once you have made the markers, you transfer these points onto your dowels. So in my case, let me just quickly straighten out the piece of tape because I don't want to see that. And I'm looking at this particular situation and thinking 2 dowels, one a little close. This might be a little over. You can also maybe do with just 1 for this particular case. And so it is your choice. We're going to choose to do 2 dowels. I'm going to make a mark there. I'm going to make a mark there. I'm going to take a screw. In this case, I have a marking pin, and we just mark it in where we want to have it. Okay. And we're going to take the tape off because we already have our marks there, right? And now we're going to go where our marking was for the 10 centimeters. And now we're going to continue and do our marking here. And again, our marking there. So what we should get in this case is that we should have equal transfer of our situation here. All right, so let's just continue. All right, after sanding your dowels, we need to focus on our pieces that we cut, and what we want is this situation where the one sits within the other one, right? And so what we're going to do, we're first going to measure this particular piece. We see this one is around 16, and we mark down the edge there that it's 8. We look at how thick this particular block is. It's nearly 3, so we get a center point, which is a 1.5. Once we have that, we add 1 centimeters to each side. We mark it down, and this is the piece that we need to cut out. So we're going to saw all of that out, and we do the same on this block, so that we just make sure the one is the opposite of the other. All right, so let's get cutting that piece out. All right, I started cutting on this side and this side. In order to remove it, we need to make small little cuts on the inside. Take something sharp like a chisel and just cut the inside out. All right, let's get to do that. I sawed out the pieces that's going to fit in, and as you can see, I cut several little pieces so that we can cut out a notch on this particular 2 pieces. What I did, put it on the side, clamp it, and we're going to use a chisel. You can use anything that is sharp enough. You handle it there. We're going to get a little right, and as you can see, you chip it out, it'll easily fall out, and you end up with a little notch right there. So now we do that for the other piece of wood as well. Alright, after chipping out a little more, we use a little gentle persuasion. You can see there, they have a nice and flush. So this is what you're looking for. You're looking for a nice cross. Next thing to do is drill. So let me go get the drill. Back to our dowel. And as you remember, we had to make these two little holes there with either a nail or, in my case, I had a marker. So we're taking a drill bit, we're getting our drill, and we want to drill 2 holes into there that will fit our dowel. Alright, so let's get started. Make sure that that marker hole, this is a wood drill bit. You can recognize a wood drill bit by the little sharp point in the start of the drill, and you make sure that it's level and we're drilling down. Now remember, before we drill, we also need to figure out what is the half of this particular dowel, because we don't want to drill through and too deep. And so we're taking another piece of tape. We're going to estimate that that is where our drill half is. Okay, half, maybe a little more. We're taking it from the start. All right, and that's where we're going to go. So we go in straight and slowly. We need to stop occasionally to see how far our tape has gone in. And that seems to be about right. Make sure we test, we see right where our dowel goes in. All right. All right, next thing, as you can see, we have our holes cut out in each of these, and we want to just put it in there. It's going to be a very tight fit because I used a number 7, and this is a number 7 dowel. And we're going to apply some regular wood glue into the spaces. So in this case, we just put the glue in there, a little bit of glue. We already have a piece in there, and we are going to make sure that we glue it down. There you have it. What we have is a very flush start to our planter. Alright, so now we've assembled our little plant stand, and you can see it's still a little bit fragile because we just glued things in. Make sure that you stand it nicely apart, and we're going to leave it to dry. Another tip I have for you, if you're struggling to get the dowels in, use a clamp and try to just clamp the 2 sides in, and you'll see that it'll go in very nicely, gently, without the gentle persuasion of a hammer. Alright, so we're going to leave this to dry, and once it's dried, we're going to sand it and do some finishing on it. Back, we've had our mid-century modern plant stand dry. The glue is solid. You can see it's standing very firm. And now what we want to do is give it a little sand down. I've already started. We're going to sand down all the legs. We're sanding down and making the edges a little smooth. Now, you have a choice of just leaving it this way, if this is your design style. In my design style, I like a darker wood, and so I'm going to use a little bit of a dye. It's a wood dye to make it a little darker. This one is a wood stain for Boer wood, and you just apply it with a little rag, where we just open it up. I'm supposed to wear gloves, but I don't listen. And then what you do is we just apply our color stain on throughout. Just rub it on now, and you continue until you get a nice even stain. All right, there you have it. Final product looking really lovely. What you can still do to this is give it a little bit of a wax coating or a clear varnish. It's entirely up to you. A last thing, test of the product. You can see very nicely our plant sitting there. Now this plant is ready for your living room, anywhere in your house and outside. I want to talk before we leave a little bit about things that we could have done. And always when you're finished with a product towards the end, you think about, oh, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. And in this case, what I would have liked to have done is to put a little rounding on the edge so that the dowel would sit nicely into a little curvature on the ends. The second thing I would have done is to lower the cross that it supports to give it more stability at the end, or just to make this a little bit shorter. The Namibian sun is drawing down, beautiful Namibian sunset. We are also done with our project. If you liked this particular project and you found it useful, please subscribe down in the bottom and leave some comments to tell us what we should do next. From Kubeta woman, warm love and kisses.